So you know that our kids march to the beat of their own drum. And that's why I like the flexibility that IXL gives you, whether you're homeschooling or just supplementing your child's learning. Every child learns differently. IXL adapts so kids can move ahead when they're ready, eliminating boredom and needless fights over, I already know this. If your kids are struggling with a certain topic, take a couple days off and then revisit it until it clicks. Whether your child is tackling new math skills or reading at a higher level, IXL meets them where they are and lets them move at their own pace. And IXL instantly grades work and explains mistakes so you don't have to. Make an impact on your child's learning. Get IXL now. Calm Parenting Podcast listeners get an exclusive 20% off an IXL membership when you sign up today at IXL.com/Kirk. Visit IXL.com/Kirk to get the most effective learning program at the best price. So I'm just going to be blunt with this one. I think the worst thing that I ever did to my wife was put her in the position of having to manage my emotions for me because I couldn't control my own emotions. So we have a very strong-willed child. And say we were sitting at the dinner table. Well, obviously he's a strong-willed kid, like many of our kids. He's not sitting correctly, eating correctly. And so I would begin to get a little bit visibly upset. Now, I wasn't just like screaming and yelling and throwing things, but I was starting to get upset because you know how it is. Your voice gets a little bit clipped and short with your child. And when that started happening, well, now my wife is starting to feel that inside of her body. And she's starting to anticipate, is this going to blow up into one of those fights where it's going to take like 3 hours to de-escalate and calm my son down? So she is now put in this position of, well, now she tries to start controlling our son's behavior. Why? Because I couldn't control my own. And that happened in lots of situations in the car when we were out somewhere. And she would anticipate, she could start feeling me get very tense and upset. And my tone would get like this. Well, that created tension in her. And so it would start to blow up. And so she was put in the position of being the referee between her child and the man she married. And that, I will tell you, it is untenable. It is unsustainable. She cannot and will not do that forever. And the truth is, I couldn't control my own emotions. It wasn't because I was a bad guy or a mean guy. I was just immature. And I had a dad who was very volatile and abusive, and I had to learn to break that pattern. Otherwise, all that would happen would be I would continue to escalate situations all the time. And so what would happen is she began to lose respect for me. Why? Well, because I thought I was marrying a man, but I married some guy who can't control himself. And I have to walk on eggshells now, anticipating, trying to make sure that everything's clean around the house and everything's picked up and our son behaves just the right way, because if he doesn't, you're going to get upset. And I want you to know that I really want you to work on that. So usually I have a one thing don't do and one thing to do in this little series on quick tips for dads. So thank you for listening. This is Kirk Martin, founder of Celebrate Calm. And so you already know what to stop doing, which is making your wife be the referee. I'm going to give you 2 action steps. One is this: ask your wife if this happens in your home. It's going to cause you to be vulnerable, and you're going to have to possibly look your wife in the eyes or do it while you're walking sometime, because this is going to be hard. She's going to be like, yeah, this happens all the time. And you're going to be tempted to be defensive. I get that. Don't be. Ask her how it makes her feel. Don't make any excuses. And you can simply apologize and say, I didn't really realize I was putting you in that position, and I apologize for that. Start there. And then the next thing I want you to start learning is how to de-escalate situations, how to control yourself. I'm going to go through that. I'm going to ask you to listen to a 60-second ad so I can make my 2.5 cents off of that. And I appreciate you doing that. So I meet people hiking now who recognize me from our Instagram videos. And yesterday, a couple said, I hope you're not offended because your parenting advice has helped us with our two strong-willed kids. But we're even more glad that you introduced us to Cozy Earth. We have never slept better than with our Cozy Earth bamboo sheets and PJs. And I laughed because it was kind of refreshing not having to answer parenting questions on the trails. So instead, we took turns gushing over our Cozy Earth pullovers, shorts, bamboo sheets, and pants. The guy was like, feel how soft this pullover is. And I was like, dude, I know. I wasn't lying when I said we live in Cozy Earth, and you have to try the new Bubble Cuddle blanket. Head to CozyEarth.com, use my code CALM for 20% off best-selling sheets, towels, pajamas, and more. Make sure Cozy Earth knows we sent you. That's CozyEarth.com and code CALM for 20% off. So men, for the next 2 weeks, I want you to practice controlling yourself, learning how to de-escalate. I'm going to encourage you to commit to changing this. I want you to put as much energy as you and I have put into our careers, into our fantasy football league, into whatever hobby we have, into our golf game, into our investing, as much energy and time as we have put into that to become successful. Put that same amount of energy into learning how to control yourself. Now, here are a couple things I would start with. Begin to sit down. Whenever you start getting upset, what do we typically do? I walk into the room, puff my chest out a little bit, start talking like this a little bit. That just escalates situations. When you sit down, it changes the dynamic. You're not losing your authority. You're actually gaining more authority because you're not out of control. Your wife and kids don't respect you when you lose control of yourself. When I sit down and I start asking questions, what am I doing? I'm problem solving. You and I as guys, we're really good at problem solving at work, just not usually at home with our kids. And then remember this phrase, motion changes emotion. When your kids are getting upset, when there's tension in the home, motion is a tool that helps your kids and you manage your own emotions. So here's a couple examples I would use when my son was really upset or when he was being defiant. I would walk in and I'd say, hey, I can tell something's going on. You're frustrated. Listen, I'm going to dump the Legos out in the living room. When you're ready, if you want to come in and build a cool spaceship with me, I'll help you out with that. Hey, I'm going to grab the football. Go outside when you're ready. Come out. We'll play catch. Sometimes I go to the store with older kids like, hey, I'm hungry. I'm going to go grab a couple tacos if you want to go along with me. Why? Because I'm moving out of that place, that physical and a psychological, emotional place we were. Because if you just look at your kids and you're staring at them like, you need to wipe that smirk off your face, young man, which is what my dad used to say to us. Or if you start, you will escalate situations. When I move the place and space to somewhere else, it gives me a minute to kind of calm myself down. It gives a child a minute. You're meeting in a different place and you're doing something tactile and physical together. I can tell you it is really helpful. Hey, I'll meet you in the garage because you like to fish. Why don't we go and organize your fishing lures? And now you're standing next to your child in the garage and you're doing something with your hands. And it's not like we need to sit down and have a talk about your attitude, young man, young lady. That never works. So this week, I want you to practice this. I want you to be vulnerable and ask your wife if this happens sometimes. Ask her to help you with this. And wives, if you're listening, be honest with your husband, but also help him with this because he's probably breaking generational patterns that he learned from his dad. And this is hard stuff. And then I just want you to start doing some simple things to de-escalate. I encourage you, episode 521 on de-escalating with a defiant child from September 24th. Fantastic 22-minute episode. And then episode 523, I just did this one a few days ago. Listen to that one. I think you'll find it really helpful. Okay. Much respect to you, men, and also the moms who listen. I appreciate you working hard at this. It will make a huge difference in your home. And if we can help you, reach out to us. It's Kirk at CelebrateCalm.com. We'll help you out. All right, much respect to you.